Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geek Cause Podcast, episode 28. I knew that.
Yeah, so did I.
Uh-huh. Did you?
Yep.
Oh, I definitely didn't look at what was showing on the Google Docs page today.
The Google
Docs. Damn it. Don't call into question my terrible speech impediment.
On the Google Docs. Okay.
Don't say things like that when I'm taking a sip of my delicious coffee, sponsored by coffee.
All coffee.
All coffee has sponsored us. Imagine how great that'd be to be sponsored just by coffee
in general.
And they just give you free supplies of coffee. I'm fixing this mic real quick.
How dare you?
There we go. Yes, so hello everyone and welcome. We are ready to throw delicious news at your way and also other things that we are excited about.
Throw delicious news.
Delicious news,
like
yes.
Pies.
They ingest it with their brains.
Oh.
And they come up with... Shut up, Kyle! Why you always gotta question what I'm saying?
Google Docs.
So, tell me, Kyle, what input do you have to add to this then, in this lovely conversation so far and this podcast? Because so far, you've only criticized me. So why don't you add something here and we'll see
It's all I ever do, though.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Okay, so, on this week's podcast...
I'm sorry, I fell asleep.
Hey, so
It took too long to say something interesting.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, go on. What's going on this week's podcast?
On this week's podcast...
What are some things we're talking about?
We have some topics ranging from logos to games.
I thought you were... I didn't understand. I thought you said logos. Like, I thought it was like... And I was like...
It's
what
not
is
a
that?
country?
I was like... Yeah, like...
Lagos?
Yeah, I was like... Is he talking about, like, the country?
We're moving to Lagos.
No. We're not.
It's going to be the home of the Geek Cause.
No. I don't want that.
We're gonna live in a shanty town.
Is that what it is? Are you sure that's what it's like? Don't misrepresent Lagos when we might have listeners from Lagos.
Everywhere has some form of a shanty town.
True.
In Dublin, we call it the North Side. Like, it's... everywhere has
In
a shanty
Ireland, we
town.
call it about half of the country.
About 3/4 of the country. Anywhere along the west coast, really.
It's a shanty town?
Yeah.
All right, let's not start off this podcast again shitting on Ireland.
Yeah, we did that last time as well.
Yeah, we got to talk about good things. So, yes, logos.
Logos, not Lagos.
Transition of CEOs from one gaming company to another. Nintendo Switch. Sexist video game developers. Potential. Allegedly. This is just... I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying based on alleged information. And,
dying consoles.
Yeah, very dying consoles, we'll call them, with
quotation
big air quotes. And also...
Unusual casting.
Could be unusual. I think overall is unusual unless you're going for a specific theme, which I think that this movie is.
Yes.
So... Do you have anything interesting... Before we go on to our topics, we're going to do this part the right way. Do you have anything interesting to say about your life this week?
No. Only interesting thing is that my contract got renewed at work, so I'm stuck there for longer. Which I'm okay with.
100% good.
Good stuff.
Just now, within the next month, become a manager.
Exactly, and it'd be great.
Yeah, and then you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. Could do everything that I want
make
to.
So much money because managers inside of retail shops make so much money. I swear, I know from personal experience, making $1 more than full-time employees.
Where I work, the manager makes decent money.
Is he the store manager?
Yep.
Though of the entire store.
Yeah, he's the store manager.
That's different than like a manager within the store.
Oh, if I was like assistant manager or team leader,
or like like a team leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like a bigger company would
make
have
like €1.50 extra, I think.
A bigger company generally would have like it would go something along the lines of your standard employee. Yeah.
The grunts.
Yeah. Your assistant, your team leaders or supervisors.
Yeah.
Then your assistant managers and managers, and then. Those are of their each respective department, and then your store managers or assistant store managers. So it'd be generally it's more like that. On smaller levels, you kind of skip out a lot of stuff because you don't really need departments if you don't have several different departments that are big enough to warrant it.
You just kind of throw everyone in the same place and like.
So like a store manager of like a GameStop or something would make better money than like just a standard manager at like a Walmart because they're just a manager of a department.
Yeah.
Not a manager of the
whole store.
So yeah, your manager at the store probably makes decent money.
Yeah.
But like, so do you have like, is it supervisors or leaders or something, or what?
So there's us, it's the sales guys, which would be your standard workers.
And who's your immediate boss? Immediate
like
supervisor.
Next guy up from me.
Yes.
Would be one of the team leaders.
Okay, so that's what it is.
How many of them are there actually? 2?
Is there over 1?
There's over 1.
Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy.
There's over 1.
I love this story.
Yeah,
we should keep talking about it.
We should.
Go on.
And then there's the assistant manager. And then there's the manager.
Okay.
And that's it.
There you go. Wow.
Yep. Now you know.
Nice small
the
story.
hierarchy of my work.
I'm so excited, and I know everyone else is as well.
Yeah.
So, congratulations. Other than you getting basically hired in fully.
Yay.
Anything else?
I've been playing a lot of DayZ lately.
DayZ, really?
DayZ, yeah.
Is it on consoles?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was on consoles.
Neither did I. Until I bought it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I only learned that about like 4 days ago. And I've played it on console, and it's actually pretty smooth. I thought it was going to be like crappy as hell.
They probably finally have like refined a lot of things. Oh man, I should try DayZ again.
DayZ, yeah, it's so good.
It's just I got so worn out of doing the that sort of like zombie, but also like people like big open survival thing where you start from scratch, run around, try to find stuff and like survive, and then
start to death after 20 minutes. I have to do it all over again.
Yeah. I got because I used to play DayZ when it was an Arma 3 mod.
Oh yeah.
So back when it was
back when it was good.
Back when it was just a mod that was, I mean, like mechanically it might have been worse.
Oh, it was broken as hell.
But like overall, it was just like
players wise, it was better.
So good. And then when it transitioned, then I bought DayZ when they came out with that, when it was like in its beta phase or whatever. And
then they released.
They just didn't continue up with it.
DayZ standalone, and then that was crap because it was like the zombies and melee weapons and rotten fruit, and that's all you get.
Yeah.
And that was like for about 3 months, and people still played the game. And they had a roadmap of when they were going to update it. And they were like, we're going to add vehicles like sometime in like March of 2017, April of 2019. They add vehicles. That's how bad it was. They're like 3 years behind on their roadmap.
It's because they thought that because they made like decent money from the sort of like the mod that they're doing. They were getting decent donations, and they thought this will transition well into.
Did like the lead developer like take all the money and dip as well?
I think
so. He took all the money and then left the company, and
because it was all donations that were just given.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, to them from like people that were like, we support this idea. So many people are playing it, and they just would. And like, I'm pretty sure one of the developers. They first promised a bunch of stuff before the standalone came out.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that was ready to go, and it was really interesting. And then all of a sudden, one day, like, someone left.
It was one of the main guys. It was one of the lead developers, I'm pretty sure.
And yeah, I think you're right. I think he did take a big
He took all the money, and then that's where it kind of disappeared. But apparently, they're still going. It's still been updated. And they haven't given up on it yet, which is shocking.
I mean, how many players does it have? I wonder on Steam how many players it has. Do I have...
On console, there's a surprising amount. Like, you're getting, like, 20, 24 full servers.
It's funny because, like, consoles, it's so weird to, like, gauge it, because with consoles, a game could be dead on the PC where no one plays it anymore.
And be bopping on consoles.
But consoles will still play it because they don't have, like, another sort of...
Yeah, there's no other substitute
for it, where I'm like, it's dead. It could be dead on the PC because there's another game just like it that ended up being better in some way.
It's like, oh, I'm going to stop playing, DayZ and go play Tarkov instead. It's like, we can't do that.
Well, that's way different of a game as well, I feel like. Oh my god, the game's more expensive now, too.
They share like a large player base.
Really?
Yeah, remember back in the day, all the DayZ YouTubers that I used to watch all now play Tarkov.
DayZ promised to have the stuff that Tarkov provided. It's like realistic gameplay and stuff like that. Recent reviews, mostly positive. All reviews, mixed. So it was officially released in 2018. Wow, that's weird. It came out way before then. When did I buy this?
Oh,
is there a way to figure out when you bought this?
Let me think. It came out. Standalone launched 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's when it was. I bought it when it was launched.
Yeah.
But it was in beta for a long, long time,
and
right?
It has DLC now as well.
That's so fucking
It has a Livonia map. It's like a forest.
I have owned DayZ since it was announced. I bought it it came up on sale in the Steam store. Before that, I played hundreds of hours in various mods. However, they announced that the game would be launching out of early access at the end of 2018. I was genuinely apprehensive. And they changed the game. Okay, so it looks like overall it's mostly positive, but some people still have issues. But the modding community is what's keeping it alive on PC.
Yeah. On console, it's pretty good, though. Like, I seen one review just there that you scrolled past. It was like, it's life or death. We executed a guy for a fresh pair. That is accurate.
Yeah.
That is very, very accurate. Yeah, no. It's been weird.
Interesting.
Periods, but it's been enjoyable.
I mean, yeah. I'd play it. There's so much stuff that I could play. It's just there's so many games that I want to play.
I started playing Kingdom Come Deliverance again as well.
Oh, I need to play.
Such a good game.
But I just started playing Witcher 3.
Oh!
Yeah.
Finally
decided to start up.
How do you play it on?
What?
How do you play it on?
The PC.
Oh.
I wasn't going to buy it for the Switch.
I was thinking. I was like, did you actually spend money?
Yes. Of course.
There's a smaller amount.
I spent money, but in the currency of time.
Oh. I think I get what you're saying.
I bought the game once and then lost the game. I'm not cheating. I'm not doing anything wrong.
It's restoring balance.
I legally obtained it, and the game is gone. I told you this. Oh my god, I'm so upset I'm burping. Anyways,
went downhill really quickly.
Now that you're asking me about my life,
I'm asking you about your life.
The only thing I've been doing lately is I just started up a playthrough of The Witcher. I shouldn't say lately. I literally have played like 3 hours of it, but
you have played it before, haven't you?
Yes, and I got to. I think it was like pretty much. I think it's when you transition to another continent.
Skellige.
Yep, you go to Skellige, and somewhere near that, like after you're there for a while, it becomes like the halfway point of the game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where I got to.
Right.
In terms of the main story, because I was doing all the side quests. And, you know, it already started off good because I've already started off doing a side quest again, and I'm going to find myself getting bored. And no, I won't get bored. I'm going to play this game through, but, yeah, I don't know. I've enjoyed it again so far. I forgot how nice it was because it's challenging, but not in a terrible way.
Yeah.
It's challenging that if you don't prepare yourself, it's challenging.
It's hard.
Because I love the bestiary, and it tells you how you fight things, and if you want to like do things right, you should probably follow the what are these things weak against, use those, otherwise it's going to be a lot harder to fight things.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this boss fight's really hard, what if I just read about it for 5 minutes and then I can find out how to kill it really quickly.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm enjoying my beginning playthroughs of it, but other than that, nope, nothing going on in my life except for some frustrating stuff when it comes to going back to the States.
Dun, dun.
Without going into too much detail,
the terrorist background isn't giving him any help.
Don't put that out there. They might listen.
They might listen. Everyone in the US Embassy now is up there with their earphones and listening to the podcast.
This podcast is awesome, but he's a terrorist. No, there's some stuff that's going through right now that's pretty easy to remedy, but it's annoying, and so it's coming down to where by next weekend I'm going to be in the States. So when it comes to the podcast, if there is a small break, we'll let you guys know like what's going on. Depending on me going, I'm gonna try to prevent that from happening. If you're following us on Twitter or Facebook or something, at least Twitter, because I try to keep updates on there decently. You'll know if there's any sort of like anything going on there, but it's going to be a busy first couple weeks once I get back to the States.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be hitting the grind hard. So it's going to rely a lot on Kyle making sure things are going good on his end to keep up with stuff. And I'm sure he's excited. And it'll be our first time doing the podcast separate, which we're promising you that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure everything comes out the best. So you're still getting a good experience.
But it should be no different.
It might actually be better because we'll be able to like mess with certain settings so that way I can talk up here with a sweet sultry tone and not have to worry about Kyle also being able to speak.
Exactly. And we both have our own microphones.
Yes. Which like we would have done now, but it would have required like a secondary mixer device.
Yeah.
Kyle would have needed to stop being a dick.
Yeah, which is, I have a hard time doing that.
So hard. How you liking paying Podbean? I know that you've only done one payment so far. Paying the Podbean.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at my bank account since like Stevens' day, so I'm kind of apprehensive to look at my bank account after Stevens' day.
Yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
If I don't look at it, it won't exist.
Well, moving on from our interesting lives.
So interesting.
Let's go into actual interesting topics.
Probably the biggest topic ever that we've ever covered on the Geek Cause podcast.
So, like, listen, guys. I know that sometimes we give, like, some hyperbole and we talk about stuff that's maybe not as interesting as some might think because it depends on what's going on that week and blah, blah, blah. But I gotta say, this topic right here is, like, the magnum opus of our podcast and our topics that we have to talk about.
This is the peak.
So, in case you guys didn't know, do you want to announce or do you want me to? I know this is a big one, so
I think we could do it together. So,
okay. Sony announced at a recent event that they have a new PlayStation 5 logo. And let me tell you, Kyle, what is this logo? Explain in great detail what this logo looks like.
Okay, so we see the PlayStation symbol first,
okay, PlayStation symbol, yep.
Now, all of this is written in a beautiful bone white, is the color I'd use to describe this.
Yeah, bone white. Mm-hmm. A bone white, sort of almost like a digital clock-like font.
Yeah. So you have the standard PlayStation logo, and then you have a P. But the back bit of the P at the curve is gone.
Okay, yeah, this sounds somehow familiar and yet, unique.
And then there's the S.
Okay,
is kind of
for PlayStation.
Yeah, see,
oh
clever,
my god,
clever.
But how do they tie it all together?
The S kind of looks like half a swastika.
It does a little bit. They should work on that.
Yeah, but then at the end, they tie it in.
Okay,
with a 5.
Oh my god! And now, I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like almost like, we had a PlayStation 4 logo, and a PlayStation 3 logo, and a PlayStation 2 logo that looked pretty similar to that. I think that the 5 is just, what's a little bit different about it, though, is it almost looks like it's a slightly different font.
Yeah, it has that sharp corner on the top left.
Instead of it being, like, a nice
curve,
smooth.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's really mixing it up. I think, Xbox should be scared.
The funny thing about this is, we know that they made such a big deal about revealing the logo is because they're doing this to come right out and say the name of our console is PlayStation 5, and it's to show so that way like Xbox, like Microsoft literally goes, all right, because
know
they showed theirs as Xbox X series, and it's like
the XXX series.
Yeah, pretty much. Might as well. It probably would have come across better.
Yeah.
And then PlayStation literally was just like, yeah, fuck all that. It's called the PlayStation 5, and here's the logo.
But how they revealed it, they still did the whole build up to it. But it's on the screen, on the stage, ready to go.
But that's
I would have hated to be in that crowd and be like, we're going to reveal something about the PlayStation now, and I'm like, oh my god, it's going to be something great.
But no, that's the beauty of it, though, is that they completely trolled the audience and Microsoft by literally just being like, have it seem like it's this big you need to see it, you ready to see it? PS5 with a PlayStation logo, and then with the same font and everything else, and it was the biggest troll because it's literally saying like, we're not doing anything super ridiculously creative to make people have to think of different. This is what it is, and you either like the fact that it's like that and that we're keeping things similar and down the same fashion, or you don't. It doesn't matter because we didn't pay some guy that probably came up with the name for the Xbox X Series
Joke's on
$1 million
you.
to come up with that name.
Joke's on you. We don't have a marketing team at Sony.
but funny enough, guaranteed, like, a marketing director or, like, some, like, main person was, like, tasked with the name of coming up with the Xbox, the new Xbox, and he probably was racking his brain, and, like, and they're just sitting there like, come on, you can do this, and then he came up with it, and they're like, oh my god, here's a $500,000 bonus. I guarantee you someone was paid money to come up with that.
Oh, obviously.
And they literally were like...
Someone was probably paid to step into a boardroom and go, right, PS5, we're good, and walked out. It was like a 30-second meeting.
They're like, Tim, here is a $100 gift card to Chili's. Please, can you tell us the name of the PlayStation and the logo? PS5.
He literally just like took out a piece of paper of the PlayStation 4 one and just drew a 5 over it.
Yeah, just crossed it out, put a 5. It's literally the best because while everyone else are coming up with these marketing designs, trying to think of cool things. Like, think about it. Nintendo Switch, all the marketing ads to go behind, like, thinking of why Switch is the name, how it works, the noise that it makes, the Joy-Cons.
Switch's marketing guy must be on acid because I don't think Nintendo have made a normal ad since, well, ever.
True, but what I'm saying, though, is, like, if you look at it, they probably paid so much to, like, advertisers to come up with a commercial that shows and explains why we call it the Switch. And do this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, it switches from this to that. It does this. It's this, blah, 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 and come up with all this stuff. And it's literally like, it's funny because Sony, to just cut out all that bullshit, because they know that nowadays, most consumers are just like, just give me what I want, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, here it is. Now, while it could be lackluster to, like, some, like, oh, it's not cool, that's not interesting, to the majority of, like, users, they're gonna look at it and be like, cool, I don't have to watch a 5-minute ad explaining why you called it the Sony Buttfuck Station 63 extra edition, nipples included on the right hand side, VV33729 version 2.
I would have loved them to do like a full Final Fantasy on it and just be like, announcing the PlayStation 14. It's like, wait, what happened to all the other numbers?
Now announcing the PlayStation 64.
Like,
why 64? Because there's 64 people that worked on coming up with this name. What?
Hello?
So, yeah, they... Well, what event was this? The CES 2020 press conference.
Or if they just went announcing the PlayStation 360.
That'd have been funny. Because when you see the console, you'll do a 360 and come right back to it and play it. And then everyone's like,
What? Are you drunk? Do you even work for Sony?
So yeah, it was at the CES 2020 press conference, which shows usually a lot of like different electronics and consumer stuff. Yeah. And I don't know what was funny about that. Yeah, you're right. That's what it says. Yeah. And they also had a couple other interesting statistics. One, that the PS4 sold 104 million units, which makes it the second best-selling game console in history, behind the PS2, which is nuts.
Will never be beaten.
No, it won't.
I don't think the PS2 will ever be beaten.
I don't think it can because of the time frame that the PS2 came out as well.
It peaked.
But then also, PlayStation VR headsets, since they were launched in October of 2016, they announced that they have sold more than 5 million units. Which, in terms of like a VR headsets and talking about getting the market,
which is impressive,
is impressive. That means that out of that 104 million, it sounds nuts, but like 99 million of them were like, no, we won't get that. But 5 million of a base also paid for an additional console, pretty much, that goes with the console.
Like, think of the time frame of it as well. The PlayStation VR didn't launch until after the PlayStation 4 had already been released.
Yeah, and it also...
So they'd already sold at least like 80 million units before the VR headset was even out there.
That's true, and they also... It came out during a time when most other options were like beginner options, where fresh things were coming out, so it was like a gamble to even be like it was literally like, do I go with this or do I go with, the Oculus or the Vive? Those are the major ones at the time, pretty much. And, in, what is it, 3.75 of a year, almost 4 years, they've sold less than 3.25, less than 3.5 years, they've sold 5 million of something that's literally, like I said, it's something that can only work with the PlayStation. Yeah. That's like a investment of what? How much was a PSVR when it first came out?
Over nearly €400.
$400.
Yeah.
For PlayStation VR, or €399, and
44,980 yen.
Right. So it came out and it was literally the same price of PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Now, who knows if it sold that well in the very beginning, but, I mean, to be fair, that's not bad. That's not bad. And the funny part is the PlayStation VR apparently is compatible with PlayStation 5.
Oh.
Which means that they're not even
have to buy a new VR headset.
Yeah, which means that they're probably not even going to do another VR headset. Or if they do, it's going to be like an upgraded version. Yeah. But why would they waste the money when they could just use the same thing? If you have a PS4 and you plan on getting a PS5 later and you like VR, just buy it now.
Yeah, I can see them doing that for like maybe a year, 2 years, and then being like, okay, here's an upgrade, if you want to.
Yeah, and because the PSVR's like quality really isn't that bad, and the best part is the material that's in it probably will be able to function off the stronger PS5 hardware anyways.
Yeah.
So we just, with all this stuff that it seems like every week we talk about VR more and more, and it's because VR is actually starting to hit that scene now that we have a Half-Life Alyx kind of out there, and then we have games like Boneworks that came out and are doing well, and we have like other things that are like taking, what is it, Senua's Sacrifice?
Yeah.
Or whatever?
Senua's Sacrifice. Love that game.
It's got a VR mode for it.
Really?
You play in third person, like in front of you, but you like can interact with, it's almost as if like there's like
you're like a
big giant watching like this character go around and like being able to interact with it.
Kind of interesting.
I heard that
in the game, like your prompts and stuff like that are voices in your head.
Exactly.
So like you're probably like watching it as if you're one of the voices in her head.
And so the way that I've heard people describe it is that like it's one of the pinnacles of like a VR experience in terms of if you're going to do third person to make it a VR work in third person, that's the way, because it looks impressive. It doesn't have like obviously the VR mechanics that you would expect, but like they're trying to say that if you wanted to make it so VR is like the staple and everyone uses it for every game, that's how you want to do it. Is make it so it feels like an immersive experience still. Something as much as like...
That's going to be really cool, because they're making a sequel to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, if they're going to continue that kind of thing, I'd like to see what kind of developments they could make with it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. We got a little bit more, like, details have slowly came out, but so far, like, based after this presentation, stuff like that, what we know for sure is Sony's PS5 will have 8K support graphics. Stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Ray tracing, obviously, the SSDs. PS4 backwards compatibility, so they haven't mentioned additional compatibility, backwards compatibility. Where some people were saying, oh yeah, it's going to be able to play video games all the way back to PS2 era. I don't think that's going to happen. You know how hard that is?
They might have to, because Xbox do that. You can play original Xbox games on the Xbox One.
The difference is there's...
Like, I was like this close to buying, like, was it Knights of the Old Republic?
But like, PS4 being able to run PS3 games... fair.
Yeah.
Xbox One being able to run Xbox 360 games, fair. Now, PS4 being able to run PS2 or PS2 games, I'll even accept that, I guess, to a certain extent, because like, okay, it's not that far back. You could probably make it work. Xbox One being able to run original Xbox games, fair enough. Yeah, okay, let's go with that. But now compare. I said PS2, but I'm pretty sure people were saying backwards compatibility from PS1 to PS5.
I see people say that it's going to be the whole way back to the start.
But there's no way.
That would be impressive if they did it. That would be a big...
I don't see it happening. To be able to read...
big flex.
You have to remember, this is to read the disc. Something that our technology, we could definitely, I guess, develop, and it would take time and effort to make it work.
Yeah.
But like, the disc system has upgraded so much that to like put in a shitty version of what we used to have... It's like, oh, why would you want to do that? Because it'd run like shit.
Yeah.
But we would more than likely just have emulation. So unless the only thing that they do with the CD is to verify that there's an ownership of it, and then they somehow use an emulator to run it, kind of like how the Wii U did Wii stuff.
I think that's kind of how the Xbox One works.
My nose itches!
With 360 games. Because you put it in, and then it boots up you get the 360 boot up.
Yeah.
As you're loading screen, it beats up the
maybe.
The 360, and when you click your menu button, opens the 360 menu.
I don't honestly.
So
it
kind of feels like running an emulator on it.
Overall, the main thing that we heard that was new information was their logo, and which is whatever, cool enough, I guess. Throw it in the face. But they also gave their PSVR sales, and the reason that they did this also, this is why I say that the whole thing was a slap in the face to Microsoft, or they were trying to make it that, is because Microsoft came up with a complicated name.
Yep.
That they thought sounded cool and people weren't happy about. So PS5, Sony went, here's PS5. Microsoft said VR isn't the future, so they're not going to have support for it, and there's no point. The reason why they brought up PSVR sales figures in this conference during the same time is to say, oh yeah, here's our sales figure for PSVR, which did good, which means 5 million people want to play it more on their console, and also it's available to be played on the PS5.
Yeah.
Literally, it was to say, you know, these things that you were mad at Microsoft for saying. Well, we don't say that. That's literally what it was.
Yeah,
they're trying to show their big. And I'm not saying whether that's impressive of them or whether I think that they're better or anything like that. I'm simply saying Sony specifically did this.
Yeah, it's why they talked about these things at this event
to show Microsoft. Ooh, look how excited people are for this. Because then afterwards, people are like, oh, woo, look at that, fucking dope. And it's like, there you go, that's why.
I can see it. As well as that, their controller for the PS5 is finally going to be decent.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to have those adaptive triggers. So you can adjust, like, the resistance on them and things like that.
I've always liked the DualShocks, don't get me wrong, like, back in the PlayStation days, I enjoyed
great
it.
now, but, like, ever since I played with one of the Xbox Elite controllers, I gotta go on one. It feels great.
Yeah, I feel like
so good.
Overall, Xbox controllers have always felt better, like with how they were, like the way that they respond to stuff. But my issue with them was their bigness. You know what I mean? Like how thick, how chunky boy they are.
Thickness.
How chunky boy they were. So I liked Sony's slim line of how they dealt with the stuff, but like I preferred the layout and the feel of sort of Xbox. But then once I owned a PlayStation 4. And I got myself used to the feeling of the PlayStation controller, I actually started to prefer that over the Xbox. Now, I don't know if it was by
wasn't the PlayStation 4 the first PlayStation to have pressure triggers? Where you could like slowly press down on it?
I think so. It was like a way of this like sort of haptic thing.
Because I know that the 3 didn't. The 3 just had the button.
Yeah.
And people are like used to complain about that because you couldn't,
I believe that's
ease
correct.
into it.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. So the PlayStation 4, like the DualShock 4, finally was
a step in the right direction.
And it felt good to me. So being able to, take that, and then now the PS5, like the DualShock 5 controller, I'm assuming is what they're gonna call it, is just expanding upon that, and it looks. I don't know. I'm assuming
we got the blueprint layout for it. It just looks like a normal PlayStation controller. It doesn't like they've changed the look of it.
The controllers are controllers, and they're probably, now that they've got what they are, they're going to stay the same. I mean, everyone remembers the original Xbox controller. If that would have been it for the rest of time.
Yeah.
But Sony has had it right for so long. Why would they change it? Even if you didn't
for so wrong.
Yes. Even if you didn't like during PS2. In the Xbox 360, you preferred the Xbox 3 controller.
Xbox 3 controller? You're on a roll today.
360 controller, the Xbox 360 controller. Sorry, there's just so much in my mind. Even if you preferred the Xbox 360 controller between the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, yeah, that's what it was, wasn't it? It was PlayStation 3 that came out versus the Xbox 360.
Yeah.
So yeah, even if you preferred Xbox 360 controller, the DualShock 3 was the exact same as the DualShock 2 and the DualShock 1, So it was just consistent.
Just with the better buttons, pretty much.
Yeah, so it literally was just like consistency, so you knew overall that it was... You can't deny the fact that Sony has had the right controller design from the start.
Oh, yeah. It's like Xbox definitely didn't.
And so...
That original Xbox controller was...
But like, yeah, once I owned an Xbox 360 and I fell in love with that controller, and then when it came down to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, it was literally just a matter of, like, to me, what felt slightly better. And so it's so hard to... It's literally what your own personal opinion is at that point. Mouse and keyboard, I'd prefer, but, like, if I could have those with the console, then maybe I would get a console and actually enjoy it more, because I like the feeling.
You can play DayZ on console with a mouse and keyboard.
Well, there you go. It's because they fucking knew what they needed to do. But anyways, yeah. Damn, we got stuck longer on the stupid PS logo thing than I wanted to. I might have to cut out half of that conversation because it's all bullshit. Anyways.
When isn't it?
That's true. So, moving on from that.
The next topic is a little spicy number from EA. What? What?
The next topic is...
my radio presenter voice.
You had to think. You were staring right at the topic, and you still had to think what it was.
I can't read.
That's like having a sandwich in front of you. I want to eat the sandwich.
I'm actually Microsoft Sam that Cody has like reprogrammed to do a podcast with him.
An Irish accent.
Yeah. So like people won't ask questions.
Okay.
So yes. The next topic is a little spicy number from EA. So their studio DICE
which everyone knows
has been a
Battlefield 5 and 4 makers, right? Battlefield makers.
Yep. A lot of them, and the first Battlefront as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That was them as well.
Who did the second one?
Respawn, I think. Wasn't it?
No.
Who did? Yeah.
DICE.
Oh, it was DICE.
DICE did it.
Yeah,
they
DICE
did
both Battlefronts.
But they probably had someone come in and help with stuff.
Yeah. So DICE, the studio that is owned by EA, has been given away as a gift to the owner of Respawn.
Pretty much what it is it's not that it was given away, but like EA owns both of them.
It was like medieval times where it's like, you have served me well in this war, I shall give you this land as reward.
Well, it's not like they merged. So literally what it was is...
it's not a merger.
DICE...
just took them.
No. DICE... EA owns DICE and Respawn.
Yes.
EA took the head of DICE, like the development studio, DICE LA, and they like flicked him aside like he was a little toy soldier and said no to the head of DICE, and then they took Respawn's what's his name, Vince Zampella, who was doing so well with being the head of Respawn, clearly.
Yeah.
They took him and they like put him in the middle of DICE and Respawn, and they're like, this is DICE LA still, this is Respawn still, but now you're the head of both of them. Congratulations.
But that's what happened when they first gave it to him. But then he went, I'm rebranding DICE LA.
Yes.
That it's no longer actually going to be
but
DICE LA, because he's just going to like tear up the foundations. He's pulling the copper out of the walls as we speak.
Right. They're rebranding it. But what I'm saying is that they're not turning it into like Respawn Entertainment as well.
They gave it to him with the intent of giving them a larger independent studio to make games.
Yes.
So they essentially just went, this is yours now. Make stuff.
Yes. It's weird. It's weird how it is, because I don't think we've ever had like in this sort of way. We've had a head of another company, like a development studio that's owned by a production, like a game production company.
Yeah, just been given another studio to work with.
Okay, usually it's like, here's this studio. We merge them together. You're in control of all of it now. Instead, they're just like,
it just dawned on me why they did it.
Why?
DICE has all of the Star Wars games rights, don't they? They make the Battlefront games.
Yes.
Respawn just made Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order.
EA owns all the rights,
EA owns everything.
But DICE has
the dev studio for them.
has the dev studio. They're the ones that work on that.
Yeah.
Yes, for Battlefront and stuff like that.
So that's why they've given him DICE.
Yeah,
because he's made one of the best Star Wars games ever to be made now.
They literally,
like, okay, we're going to give you the other Star Wars guys.
But I think what it is they want to keep them separate though, because they want the people from DICE to be those people, because DICE has great development, a team itself that do their things, and they have great ideas. They just don't have the right, I guess, overall control over what they do.
Yeah.
Oh, microtransactions. Let's add this. Let's add this to it. Let's do this, and it's not good
the launch
design.
Of Battlefront 2, for example.
And so this was, I think, just a way of being like, we want this to be this, and we want this to be that, but we want you to be in charge of both of them.
Yeah.
So, like, don't think that this is all going to be Respawn's just a bigger studio, because it won't be. What it is it's literally going
to... It kind of is at the same time. It's kind of like they're going, okay, Respawn, consider this like another department, where you're going to make different kind of stuff, but your head is still, in control of it all.
Yeah,
it's not you. It isn't Respawn. They're making different things, but you're kind of guiding them in the right direction.
Yeah, you're doing the... So basically, Vince Zampella is going to be overseeing the work within it, and it's supposed to be its own thing, and it's coming out where it's going to have its own original IP.
Yeah,
that they're coming up with for it. Now, what it is, who knows? But that's just all it is. They were said that they were going to have a rebranding, so it probably won't be called DICE anymore.
No,
but naming in of itself can be the same, but and rebranding could literally just mean they're completely taking up what you think of it when you think of that.
Yeah.
But I would assume they're getting rid of the name. They're coming up with a new, like, fresh how they brand themselves towards games and what they call themselves, and then also coming out with a game as they come out.
More than likely, either heavily influenced or exactly Star Wars.
Yeah, so this is what Zampella said in an interview, according to the LA Times, who did the interview. He said, the studio, whatever it's called, will remain separate from DICE's main studio in Stockholm and from Respawn. It is not an entirely clean break for Zampella, though, who says that his new studio and EA's other development teams do talk and to learn from each other. So it's literally, like I said, it's a really weird thing where don't expect it to be Respawn and don't expect it to be... I don't know what... I don't know what the purpose of it is.
It's a mixture of both of them. I think EA is looking at DICE profit margin. You look at pretty much Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 2, which would have been their last big two developments, because they came out fairly close back to each other. Battlefront 1 was a struggle. It didn't do as well as it should have. And Battlefront 2 had a really, really bad start. And it wasn't down to development or gameplay stuff, it was more so, choices that were made. And I think EA are looking at this and going, okay, well, this head of Respawn just made a Star Wars game and it was really good, they've had a really good year. Instead of just shutting down the company, what if we just give him the reins and try guide it into a better direction?
But only the LA office.
But only the LA office. Not the whole studio. Like, DICE still exists. We're just taking away DICE's LA studio and giving it to him as their kind of head coach.
It seems weird. It's almost like they want a new studio to try something different, so that way if they produce a game and it's bad,
nothing's really lost.
DICE doesn't get looked at as even worse than what some people consider, because it's finally doing okay now that Battlefront 2 is all right, picked up. And now that Battlefield is doing decent again with its updates, and they don't want Respawn that's at this pinnacle of how great it's doing to be brought down.
Yeah.
They want this whole new studio to be the kind of, maybe, this is what I'm thinking, this is my opinion.
It's like a test almost.
This is a scapegoat to see what can they get away with.
It's like, can we do something risky without damaging our other studios?
Exactly. And I mean, isn't that what anybody would want to do?
Exactly.
I guess? So.
But coming from EA, I think this is a really good thing. It might possibly show a change
smart.
Of motive from EA, instead of just this mentality of a studio isn't performing well, shut it down. They're going, okay, well, what if we take risks instead?
Yeah.
And they calculate a risk and be smart about this, which makes me happy. When it's like companies like BioWare and things like that no longer have this axe floating above their head if they make a bad game, because they could go, that's okay, we're just going to try this out a different way.
The only thing that could potentially bother me for this is that this could mean, though, that they create a studio with these people with these jobs, and maybe they don't immediately shut it down or whatever like that, but they say, okay, come up with something. We're going to do stupid shit that we've been doing forever because we know that they don't want it in these other companies, but if we do it for this one and see what we can push through, then we can see if we can get away with something. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I feel like they wouldn't take Respawn's head for that, though.
But it doesn't matter.
He's under too much praise. Even if it isn't, Respawn's company, the gaming community is wise enough to look at him. But how this has been talked about, his name is plastered all over this.
And it's true, but I just don't see any other reason of why you do this unless it's to prevent potential future backlash for some reason. Because then at this point, why don't you just leave it DICE LA and just do nothing with it and leave it like a part of that?
The marketing...
Or just call it Respawn and call it part of that.
It could be a marketing thing as well, where people might not... the player bases might look at that and go, oh, a new DICE game. They might hear that and go, eh.
But, it's a new Respawn game.
If you go, it's a new Respawn game, it's like, oh, that's great. But then EA probably went, we can't have Respawn making our multiplayer first-person shooters.
Well, that's if what they're going to be making. We don't know that.
It could be completely different.
Which isn't an issue anyways, because Respawn was bought, and Respawn is working on Titanfall, which is a multiplayer first-person shooter that does amazing.
But I'm trying to think of this from EA's point of view. Where I think EA look at Respawn now, and they just see the success of Star Wars. And they go, ooh, single-player Star Wars games. That's what they're going to do.
But they're already working on a new Titanfall project.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, now you have my attention.
And they have Apex Legends still underneath their belt.
I forgot that's Respawn, isn't it? Jesus. They've had a really good year. Holy crap.
So that's why I said they're doing so good with their year. I honestly believe this is a way for... Okay, maybe it's not a way... I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe it's not a way for them to push shit and try to get away with it, but maybe this is a way where they can take a risk that they know is a big risk and see what can come from it without tarnishing the reputation of Respawn, because the head of Respawn is probably like this. How about this? I will oversee this new company, and I'll have them go down a direction that I want them to go down to.
Yeah.
But that way, if things don't go right based on decisions that you want, because according to Respawn, EA has almost no major influence on the things that they put in their game. That's according to Respawn themselves. They said no.
Which you can clearly tell by Jedi Fallen Order, that has no microtransactions, no loot boxes, no DLC.
Yeah.
Like, you get everything with the game when you buy it.
And so this might be them just saying, like, okay, you want to have more of an influence because you have these ideas and you want us to work on them. We're not going to... They probably signed a contract allowing them more liberties. And they're like, we're not going to do that, but I will be willing to oversee to make sure that that this other people are working on it and doing it the way that I would see in our vision, but I'm not letting my company take the fall for it. So you come with something else if it doesn't work out how you want it to work out.
And I think that really comes down to the heads at Respawn. I think they're just really shrewd and really got their head in the business.
They know what they're doing.
Aren't they from Infinity Ward?
So yeah, the heads were originally from Infinity Ward.
So like they're used to working with companies like Activision and things like that.
That try to do certain things, you know what I mean? Try to come up with certain things. And that's why...
I'm pretty sure that's why they left all the Call of Duties, was because they were getting screwed over.
They're getting shafted. Yeah. And so they made Titanfall, which was not like a huge success in terms of monetary game, but in terms of critical acclaim, it did well.
And then they dropped Titanfall 2, which is argued to be one of the best multiplayer first-person shooters that's come out in the past decade.
But because it was its own publishing and production and everything like that, it didn't get nearly the sales that it needed to either.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason why they allowed themselves to be bought by EA, is because then at least a big name is behind it to put money in so that they can and put marketing in so that way they didn't do it.
They're making games to critical acclaim, but they don't have the money to get people out to buy the game.
Yeah. It would be what would have happened with like the Witcher series and Witcher 3. What would have happened with Witcher 3 if Witcher 3 didn't just happen to hit just the right spots for everyone like that. Because Witcher 1, you could argue that it was a mediocre game. Witcher 2 was a pretty decent game by most accounts.
Yeah.
It was considered a really good game,
but it was
it didn't
underground hit.
Anywhere near the success that
it's a cult game. Like, it's a cult classic.
Whereas you have The Witcher 3 that did absolute fucking gangbusters.
And still is.
Yeah, and still is, which we've talked about recently. But let me see here. Witcher 2 Assassins of King.
Came out in 2011.
And it did good. It sold 1.7 million copies in May of 2012, which is not a small feat. It's not like some crazy, like, it's not like 100% retention on all these things. But you have to remember that Witcher 2 was also... one of the reasons it did good is because it came out for console as well as PC.
Yeah, it dropped.
The original only came out on PC.
Yeah.
Witcher 2 came out on PC and Xbox 360, and that's the reason why I was able to get out there, is because they had Microsoft themselves saying, fine, we'll put it on our console if you think it's good, because the first one was fun, but it just didn't do good enough. We'll put it on our console and push it out there. That allowed them to sell a decent amount of stuff. And then
they could grow their studio, get bigger, and then drop Witcher 3.
Which was nuts.
In 2015. Well, 2011. 4 years later.
Literally, it was like... No, 2012...
2011 it was released, Witcher 2.
I thought I said 2012. Or no,
that was a year
it sold, yeah. So 4 years later.
Yeah, May 2011. 4 years later, they dropped Witcher 3.
So you could say that maybe they are waiting to see how sales did. They waited a year, see how they did in a year in sales, sold 1.7 million copies, and were like, yeah, this is totally possible.
Yeah, this happening.
And continued to work on what they probably already had the basis down for Witcher 3. And they did, it was amazing. So, like, it just goes to show you that you need to have that funding sometimes if you want to do the things that you need to do.
Even though we don't like EA, that they're an evil corporate overlord, it goes to show that companies can work with them, and...
All companies are evil overlords that want money, right?
Yeah, but EA is one of the worst.
All publishing companies.
Yes.
And that's because publishers are only in it for the money.
Yeah.
That's why they're publishers, because they publish the game, right? No publisher is going to be good. EA in the last few years has been one of the worst, but they've been one of the worst because I honestly believe the companies that they were getting in, they weren't making sure that they were putting out... those companies were putting stuff out, and EA wanted shit in there that shouldn't have been.
Yeah. And those companies were just going with it. And Respawn is the first one that's going, no.
That won't work.
And they've had a phenomenal year.
Because of it. And because you have to remember, like, overall, EA doesn't... As much as we want to blame EA... that's why the Mass Effect series hasn't been worked on properly and that Andromeda didn't do as good as it was, it's all EA's fault. The monetization issues, yes. Maybe the rush of the game, you can say, could be as well.
But they could have put pressure on them to be like, we need it out by this time.
But overall, BioWare developed a game and they knew what their issues were and where their weaknesses were, and they could have, done certain things to prevent that. And it comes down to, you have to know that studios do have a decision where it comes down to, you can say, yes, they might have pressure, but they can say, listen, we can't get this done. Or
at the end of the day, the publisher can't control how fast you develop a game. If you go to them and go, it just can't be done. Sorry, but it can't.
Or I'm not putting this in I refuse to put this in the game. I will, maybe, then, you know what I mean? Because
three quarters of the way through development, EA isn't going to go, fine then, screw you, and pull publishing, because they'll lose a crap load of money.
Yeah.
They're going to go, okay, never mind.
What do we need to make this work?
Yeah.
What do we need to make this work properly?
And that's what happened at Respawn, and that's how the head of Respawn now has pretty much two studios.
Yeah. It comes down to... It's a studio and a publishers that are into the things altogether. You can have publishers be dicks and hurt studios in a lot of ways, but the end decision is how you decide to please that publisher. And if you're going to follow demands that are shit, that's on the studio.
Yeah.
Don't follow those to a T. Find ways that work. Monetization in some games can be completely fine.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is when people get told to put it in and they don't want to put it in, it's easier for them to just throw shit in there and just be like, I don't want to put it in, so I'm not interested. So here's a bunch of shit. You can pay money for it. And that's where people are always like, oh, that sucks. Loot boxes, this, that. Because
it's like you look at, say, something like GTA that's up releasing new vehicles every week, every second week that are ridiculous amounts of in-game currency. And it's just like, well, just pay money for it if you don't want to grind in the game to get it.
Yeah.
And people get pissed off at that, but then other people are like, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
That it's pretty much, it's a give and take, really.
Yeah. Speaking of GTA, though,
something surprising about it
is it's now
on Game Pass.
Exciting.
That is very surprising.
So this came out of nowhere, kind of, right?
Yep.
There's no announcement of it going to be happening. There's nothing like that.
Usually when they have big games like that dropping, you'll see them post about it the week before, or at least half a week before, to be like, this is coming. Get hyped. Like Witcher 3 was announced like 3 weeks before it got out to Game Pass.
Yeah.
Because it was so big.
And then it just nothing like that happened.
No.
GTA was just dropped, and then they post on Twitter saying, oh yeah, in case you missed it,
here you go.
Here's Grand Theft Auto 5 for you.
On Game Pass.
Just on Game Pass waiting.
Like that's pretty crazy.
I mean...
that makes me think that Game Pass is doing well.
Game Pass is doing well, and it also kind of makes me think that maybe GTA's numbers finally went down enough where they were like, all right, just get it out there more, because then at least people will buy some more stuff. And so it goes to show that Game Pass is doing well enough that GTA was willing to take a deal that doesn't benefit him as much as selling the game outright, to be like, yes, because it'll get more players playing it, and that's what matters to us.
Game Pass is gonna be bold here. Have a little hot take. Game Pass is the direction games needs to take, where you pay a subscription to download games.
Yes,
that's the way it has to go. I think Game Pass is one of the best decisions Microsoft has made.
If you're going to go down a sort of
library,
streaming,
Netflix,
or not streaming, but like a sort of library-esque thing, Game Pass is the way to go. Maybe the price point, if you want to make it actually money-wise the right price point, you probably want to increase. I know that like this sounds weird coming from someone that would have to purchase it, but like you'd probably want it at that same like a $15 price range more consistently.
Yeah, like which wouldn't be a big jump of what it is at the moment.
No.
Like for consoles, it's $10 a month.
But what you need there is you'd have to have the advertisements in a certain way.
It would just have to take center stage of your pretty much all like your homepage stuff and all your social media stuff. It'd be your front and center.
Yeah, and you'd need, because like Netflix makes money now based on watchers, in terms of, because it's a lot like a TV sort of station where like the numbers means that people are watching stuff, which means they can sell it to people because they make money from their streaming service, but you don't make that much money by having millions of movies that you're spending money making for half of them, and then they only pay $15 for an entire household that people share between themselves a lot of the time, as they're making their money based on like advertisements and stuff like that when they're doing those things that you don't see a lot. I mean, like, you know, you're watching a show and you don't see an advertisement on Netflix,
product placement,
but it's like product placements, it's word of mouth, it's getting stuff like The Witcher money was probably given in certain areas for certain like placements of stuff, you know what I mean, like make this show about this and we'll give you money, you know what I mean? Or and then they're like we'll give it, like, or it's like we're giving you money, but like we're giving you money less than what we'd need to because we're giving you a platform. So it comes down to, it's just really smart merchandising and stuff like that. Is all that stuff. Like the having a thing where you get a bunch of stuff for a certain price isn't that's what makes it a great model. It's the fact that you can reach an audience that it probably wouldn't have reached before, and you can use that to entice people to, you know what I mean? Like,
and the idea of Phil Spencer saying that, obviously it's on Xbox and it's on PC as well, it's still technically in beta for PC, but him saying that he wants, you know, PlayStation to have a Game Pass, he wants the Switch to have access to Game Pass, he wants all other like forms of like gameplay to have access to Xbox Live and the Game Pass. He doesn't want it to be an Xbox exclusive thing. He wants it to be a subscription service like Netflix that anyone can use on any machine.
And it's because yes, you make that, but like that's not enough money to warrant like why a developer would let that happen over them making a full. But it's because people know that certain games are getting mislooked, like not overlooked, because they're not offered to people except for only one way.
Yeah.
A $60 game that in today's economy, not everyone can go out there and do, and you can only buy. So
and it's a huge thing for indie devs as well. The amount of like small scale games that are on Game Pass is ridiculous, but it's so cool to see because it's been added to Game Pass and people are going, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll give it a go," because it's just as simple as downloading it for them.
And they like it, and they support it, and they share things about it. They make more people who can buy it.
It's like there was a game, I think it was called like Void Bastards or something. There's like this kind of arcadey first person shooter in space, and every time you die, you'd respawn, but you'd be a different character, and the character have different attributes. So if you're a cougher, you'd like if you're a smoker, you'd cough, and enemies would be able to find you faster. You could be short.
So it's kind of like
you'd have like a different perspective in the game. You could be tall, you could be heavy-footed.
It's kind of like that one game where you keep going in through like a procedurally generated castle or whatever, like randomly generated.
Yeah, it's kind of like
have to, like, what is that called? It's like a roguelike, except for like you started off and like certain money gets to be kept to spend on upgrades for your. What is that game called? It's such a good game, and I can't think of the name of it. Oh well.
Yeah, no, the game, the Void Bastards. I never would have heard of it. I never would have played it if not for Game Pass, and I played that game to death. Yeah,
it's one of those things where people maybe have, okay, so $60 games, they maybe have enough for three new games a year. Let's say that they have enough that they can spend $180 on 3 new games max.
Yeah.
Usually they only could spend it on 2.
Or they could spend, what is that? So 12 months, less of that money. 120. I'm pretty sure it's less
even
if you
less,
buy it if you buy the whole year, I think.
I think even less. So $100 or less.
You get access to a library of dozens of games.
Dozens, yeah,
and lots,
at least
lots
dozens
of new games, like Outer Worlds, Gears 4, all these games that dropped on Game Pass day one.
Yep, and they get it. They get the ability to play it and see it, and so it puts your stuff out there.
Yeah, and games that you may have missed or want to play before a new game comes out.
I think if, in terms of profit, having what's going to make it having a sort of game library is sort of where games need to go. Having that though, with like a supplementary, but if you don't have access to online to like look at the different games, streaming irrelevant. No one gives a fuck about being able to stream something because that's always online.
Yeah.
You don't get to keep anything. No, the difference should be: do you want to have the ability to play this? As long as you have this subscription, you can play this, and you can download it, and it's yours. It's on your machine forever, whether like anything happens. It's on your machine. But if you want the ability to play it without having the subscription, if like let's say you need a month gone where you can't do it, or if you want the ability to not prove that you're able to play it, then you can purchase it for a nominal fee.
Yeah.
And then you get it not physical, but like a physical sort of version of it that you can do whatever you want with.
Yeah.
How do you want it? You know what I mean? And that's what I think is kind of the future is.
Really well.
Here's a permanent version, and then here's the version that you can get as long as you have a subscription. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
Because the permanent version, yes, you buy once, you always have it, you never have to spend more money. This version, though, might be cheaper in the long run because you get different games as well with it. And if it runs out, so it's like there's pluses and minuses to both. How do you want it?
Yeah.
It's all about how do you want it?
If you just offer both sides of it, pretty much everyone is pleased at that point. There's no one who could be mad at it because it's like, if you don't want to have to pay subscription, just buy it. If you don't want to just buy it and spend all that money, pay the subscription. Yeah, exactly. And I think that is the future. That is a good future because it works so well. And if companies like Rockstar / Take-Two are allowing GTA 5 to go on Game Pass, it means that they're kind of seeing that too. Yeah, they're seeing. I mean, yes, it's an old game, but it's a old game that they for a long time still making millions of players and millions of dollars off. Yeah. So yeah, very cool. But something along the lines of the future of gaming. Good segue. Escape from Tarkov, which if you don't know, it is like a hyper-realistic first-person shooter, sort of like... It's like a looter shooter almost. Like it's like
kind of like, I don't know how to explain it.
Like a realistic looter shooter.
Like you go into raids and stuff like that.
To get loot.
Yeah, like literally, and then you leave and you escape and you do like raids where you get that, and it's like a experience like that, right? Not like actual like warfare combat, it's like individual
like skirmishes
between one or two people that go into things, depending on if you're with friends or not. It could be more, but small little like skirmishes. If at all, you could go 17 games without seeing anybody, really, because it's about looting the stuff in your environment to get money, to be able to get better guns, to feel more confident shooting.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, hyper-realistic. So, according to many various sources and Twitter, Escape from Tarkov creator gives a terrible excuse for not including playable female characters into Escape from Tarkov. And the reason behind that is...
But before you say, some people might believe it's a terrible excuse, but there'll be people out there who might argue that as well.
Yes.
And so it might not be as cut and dry.
What we're going to do here is we're going to state what was said, and then we're going to kind of give our opinions on it real quick. So, to start it all off, we'll actually start with this, is a couple years ago, there was a... Battlestate Games, who creates Escape from Tarkov, develops it rather. A couple years ago, one of the people from them was, like a dev, was interviewed, and someone asked him, why is there no female characters right now? And the dev responded with saying, we came to the conclusion that women can't handle that amount of stress. There's only one place for hardened men in this place. Talking about the environment of Tarkov.
Yeah.
Pretty much saying that, oh, well, in the game, in like lore, there's a only men could handle what happens there, so they're the only ones that would be inside of that sort of conflict, which is like a conflict between like a really hardened, war-torn Russia environment.
Yeah.
And Battlestate Games came out and tweeted and said, regarding the three years old article with points about women in EFT, the answers were done by one, not a key BSG employee, Battlestate Games employee, which probably were misinterpreted, and as a result didn't reflect the official position of the company that we always respected women in wars and military women. The employee was reprimanded and properly instructed. We are sorry for caused confusion. And now please keep in mind that these guys are not originally English speaking.
It's a Russian-based studio, isn't it?
It's Russian or somewhere in that area.
Eastern Europe.
So what came about was people were bringing up that article saying that they weren't in there, and they were responding to that article. And then they went on to say, to finally like put a nail in the coffin, they said, and just to finally clear the question about women in Escape from Tarkov. First, there are women in Escape from Tarkov already. Traitors, some future key storyline quests will have women as main characters. But there will be no playable female characters because of game lore, and more importantly, the huge amount of work needed with animations, gear fitting, etc. Now, people are having a problem with this, and the way that they look at it is, this is a bad excuse because you're making a game, how hard is it to create a female model that like the things fit on, and then also, why is it not lore friendly, and stuff like that. You shouldn't be making a game like you said that women are inside of EFT as traitors and main story characters, so why can't they be playable characters?
Yeah.
And okay, I guess you say what you think about this situation first, and like your opinion on it, and then I'll kind of give mine, because we know why people are saying why they don't like it, and it's because they're pretty much saying we're not going to say female characters, playable characters, are going to be in this game.
Yeah, because it's too much work, and our lore says no.
Yes,
that's pretty much what they're saying.
Yes,
and if it comes to saying, oh, it's too much work, we'd have to create new models, fit all the gear to work with it, so, meshes work and animations work and hitboxes are correct and so on and so forth. For a small studio, I could go, okay, fair enough. That would be a lot of work if you have 5 guys doing it. That could take weeks. It could take months even.
Yes.
Especially for a game that is as competitive and...
has such a
almost like a high standard when it comes to its gameplay and response rate and how it looks and feels.
Very precise how everything is.
Yeah, everything is almost hand, modeled and crafted in it. It's very, very accurate and precise in how it does it. So it would take a long time for them. So if they said, we're not going to do it just because that'd take too long.
And we are working on completing the game.
Yeah, we have other things to be making.
Besides putting in a whole new character things for just like the playable character aspect of it.
It's like that's one thing to them. It might be low on the list adding different playable characters.
When it's like
they might have 45 other things on their list that's like gameplay tweaks and new content and
right,
and things they need into the game to have it classified as a finished product.
Tons of games like do stuff like that. There's like certain games where it's like maybe there's in Mass Effect there's 50,000 races or something like that that are inside of like the game story, but you can only play as one human, and it's because of lore reasons, but a bigger thing is like, or maybe they give you like 3 different races and people are like, well, how come I can't play as one of the other 7 races? And they were like, it's not because we don't like those races. It's like because
dialogue has to be recorded, you have to do animations, armor has to be designed and matched to them.
And it's have to come up with stuff for each of those. They're in the lore because we like them, but we like literally don't have the manpower or the time to get that out in a time frame that makes sense to us.
It's like you look at, say, Bethesda. In their, Elder Scrolls stuff, they have a bunch of different races, but they're all humanoid with the same body shape.
Yeah.
So they don't need to change
much
the armor or the animations, really. It's the heads and maybe a tail that changes.
Right.
And that's it.
And so when you look at something like this, you could think, okay, we'll just add boobs and put hair, but like, to have an accurate female representation, it's more than that. Plus, this is a realistic combat game where certain hitboxes and stuff would definitely be affected by that.
Precise.
Now, if you're looking at it from that aspect, then yes, I can see why they say
Fair
that.
enough. If you're just doing it as an aspect of, it's like, we could do it, it's very possible to do it, but it's just too much work, we're not going to bother.
Then it's
that's a dick move.
Then it becomes, I don't even think it's sexist territory at that part.
It's just laziness.
It's just you're fucking dumb.
Yeah, I think I remember it was a Ubisoft dev that said back during Assassin's Creed Uni when they had the 4-player multiplayer.
Yeah,
they were like, oh, why isn't there like female characters in it? And like, oh, because that would take work. It'd be like 2 days of work.
Yeah, it'd be too much work just to
do that. But they said it'd be like 2 days.
Yeah,
for them, and that was like, you're just been lazy. You're not been sexist. You're not been malicious.
It's just
you're just not bothering.
You had an idea and you made male characters because it was easy for you, and now you just don't want to do it.
It was time convenient, and you could just pretty much swap body models over from an NPC you made 3 weeks ago.
So for me, I'm in this weird middle ground because I played the game and I like the game, and the developers I think try to do a lot for it, even though they are pushing out consistent updates. But it's kind of in the same place. It's not in the same place, that's saying too much, but it's on a very similar pace that it has been for a long time. So like, they don't make a tremendous amount of huge changes over small periods or large periods of times. It's usually like they give small changes overall, and they work on those things and fine tune those small things. That's fine. So they care about detail. So to me, the huge amount of work needed with animations and gear fitting, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I take that as a valid point. That's not a terrible excuse. That's an excuse where it kind of makes you go, okay.
Yeah. That part of it, if they would have just said that, and they said, we're working on finishing the game first, these are things that if we were to do, it would be after we finish all of the main aspects of the game that we want to get done, because this is what we have created already.
Yeah.
Then, you know what I'd say? That makes sense, okay? If they were to come out and they were to say, all right, there's a lot of work to be done, and we don't feel like doing it right now. You know what? Overall, I would be like, all right, but that's the game. Like, that's lazy.
Yeah.
But overall, I would be like, fine, you don't want to work on that because you're working on other stuff. It's the way that you worded it is very lazy sounding, and I don't like that aspect, because even though there is a lot of fine tuning for you, it's something that in a month's time, it's just a female model. You could technically be able to figure that out pretty easily, but you just are too lazy and you don't want to waste that month on that. You want to do it on other stuff. Fair enough. I'll give you benefit of the doubt, and I'll say that it's a shitty response, but it's at least acceptable.
Yeah, it's not malicious. It's not sexist. It's not bad. You're not going to be thrown to the dogs for it.
The reason why I don't like this response, though, is the fact that they said, there's no playable female characters because of game lore. They added that in, and you know what? Whether they meant that or not, you shouldn't have added that in, because guess what? Literally the tweet before that one, you said there are women in EFT as traders and key storyline quests and main characters.
Yeah.
That are on the battlefield as main characters that are female.
Yeah.
And then the next tweet you said, we don't have playable characters as females because it's not part of the game lore. These characters, every character is like a new character. These characters aren't like a main storyline character, so it has a specific... It'd be like, okay, if you're playing a Superman game, you don't give an option to have a female or male Superman, right? Because it's
Superman.
Because it's a character that has its certain thing. Yeah. But this is a game that doesn't have that, so how does having your main character have the ability to be a female or male when you already have females and males doing the same thing in the game? To me, then it came down to, this is the issue. It wasn't that I feel personally, is that it's not overtly horrible, like sexist.
No.
But it's sexist in the way of like, you just don't want to add females because you don't think... It comes down to and I saw some tweets of people that corroborated. You don't want to add females because you don't think enough females play the game, so it's not worth you to add it just for the small minority that want it. The same as... I don't see black characters in the game either. There's no black characters.
No.
And it's probably because you think a lot of black people aren't going to play this. And some people could say, well, it's based in Russia and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but there's U.S. Marine Corps that are in there, and then there's the Soviet Russias that fight in there. There's two different people that are like fighting in that area. So why isn't there other races? That then it comes down to me is that's just a simple palette color. So what it is they just don't want to add that, is what it is. And so it's not like something where they're doing it supremely malicious, I think, because they just don't like women, the thought of them being in the military or anything like that. I think it's a mixture of all three. They have too much they have to focus on based on small fine-tuning, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want to work on it for that reason, but also they're kind of lazy because for some of the stuff that they could change, it literally would only be a little tweak that would take a week of their time. And so they don't want to do that because the third reason, they don't care enough about that demographic because they don't think that demographic is enough of it in the player base for them to worry about.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue is. I think more than anything is, why not just put it there?
Yeah. And I agree with that. It's like, I'd give them the gameplay one. The gameplay thing, if having to make it and it didn't work, lazy.
Yeah.
But fair enough. And the lore one, I am always iffy with, because I'm of the mindset that if you make a world and you write a story and you want to obey the rules of your story, as the person who created said story, you have every right to do that without outside criticism because it's an isolated thing.
Yes.
You should be allowed to do that. My issue with it comes from that the lore of Tarkov isn't clear-cut enough. And
it's also a real-world scenario.
They need to give a valid and logical explanation in the rules of their world why women can't be playable characters but can still exist in the world as main characters.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
It's like you could make an excuse of go like, okay, so the main characters are important people. It's like, oh, this female male character who's on the battlefield, she's special because she's the only one. Then you'd go,
okay,
fair enough. If you're the only one of something, you can't have other people in that thing. But because they haven't said anything like that, it's more so just been, our lore says no, and then not giving any outside explanation. Just goes, you can't just say our lore says no. That's been like frickin' you're one who writes the Harry Potter books.
Yeah,
like,
you know better than her
who
pretends that she's woke and like supporting other people, but then only adds it in after enough people complain that why don't you have representation in your books? Oh, I do. This person is gay.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, I don't like that you added it in because you were upset that people. You could have just originally added it in for representation.
Yeah.
So that makes you a shitty person because you didn't add it in, and then you appropriated someone else's culture by adding it in after the fact just because you didn't want to look like a dick.
These guys are kind of doing the reverse of that, where they're not adding something in, and their reason is just because but it says so in the lore.
And this is...
and then not giving us any lore source for it.
Exactly, there's no
like
lore.
J.K. Rowling going, oh yeah, no, there was a Jewish student in Hogwarts.
Yeah.
And it's like, where is he in the books? Oh, he's not mentioned in the books.
And see, this is the thing, though, also with them, though, with Battlestate games, the problem with me with saying the lore thing or whatever as well, is that I would get it if this lore of the world is something crazily outrageous, and so it would make sense. The lore of this game is something along the lines of, because they're not even clear with their lore. This is the problem, is there's nothing out there that comes out that is, there's not a lot of lore to it.
Yeah.
But this is the lore, basically the rundown of lore is, there was an outbreak of fighting within Russia that caused a massive war to happen, pretty much in that area, and so now there's U.S. forces and Russian forces that are teamed together to, basically kind of like a nuclear winter sort of thing within Russia, to go in there and kill scavengers and people that like have went in there, and to appropriate these like scavengers, take their stuff and to leave, right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal, is to like these two different groups of people to go in and get as much stuff as they can, and there's like this own land where these people live, where there's traders that like, okay, so you need guns and stuff like that.
Like almost like they're excursion zones, where it's like, these are like no-go areas that scavengers are pretty much...
And you're going in,
and your job is to go in, clear them out, and
take what you can,
so we can have it.
So that way we can have it for our use inside the thing. The reason why the lore thing doesn't make sense, because first of all, they don't even have a better lore understanding overall, but also if that's your lore, at what point in there, when you're taking a real world scenario, would a female not be involved? Especially considering, let me just like, double check here.
Even if it's like real world scenario, it's clearly some sort of dystopian scenario set in a real world environment.
So women have been able to work in the Russian armed forces since 2002, and women are allowed to work inside of the any US like forces.
10% of the Russian army is women.
So why again aren't we allowed to how is it not lore friendly? Tell me where.
If they came out and went, oh, because the leadership in Russia at this time
eliminated
banned it, they outlawed it.
And then because the US military also outlawed women because some reason. Give me a reason.
Maybe because it's in Russia, the current Russian government has some sort of law in place against women to kind of suppress or segregate them, and that's why the Americans don't send women in.
Sure.
Because it would be too dangerous for them, because they'd be specifically targeted.
So like then
if that was their outright lore explanation, you'd go, that's weird.
But fair. At least
enough.
there's a reason.
Yeah.
But
there is no reason.
But there's no female scavengers.
No.
That are living in the world, like where they're scavenging land and they have guns and they're trying to survive. Yeah. There's no female scavengers, which, well, in this situation, what happens? Have all females been terminated because they're seen as like
purges?
You know what I mean? So what point in the lore is what makes it so there's no females? So my issue with this is three things. Is I understand the technical limitations, but how long really does it take, even with fine-tuning, if this is like a really fine-tuned game, how long really would it take to add female characters into the game? If
a couple of weeks.
If you spent even 2 months, it would take to like get all the hitboxes fleshed out. For some reason, your code is so shit that you can't like somehow just like shrink certain aspects. Let's just say you have to almost start from scratch in terms of the models.
Yeah, they have to build it from the ground up.
So you start with scratch from models. Let's say you spend a few months working on it.
Yeah.
What's stopping that from happening when a lot of the other stuff that happens with the updates of the game are just small balance changes that you're doing? Why wouldn't you do this major thing that adds that instead of... You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You're talking about...
They're not doing enough in their updates to pretty much justify them going, oh, it's too much work.
Yeah, it's not like there's huge content updates. There's, over the last years that it's been out...
Unless they're working on a huge content update.
From 2016, I think they've added one map. And they've had 3 maps that have been consistently shown on their map of, like, being coming soon map. There's, like, 3 there that have been there saying coming soon forever. They actually added a different map that was not those in there before they unlocked one of those maps. Now, if you're going to say it's for a lore reason or whatever, okay, fair enough. But you're not giving any context to any of this. Just
give context.
there's no context for the woman, the reason why they're in there in the lore, when you said that there is main women for traders and for main characters. So all of a sudden the lore is thrown out the window in 2 tweets that are simultaneously, like, or sent one right after another. You've already contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
So that one doesn't make sense. If it's because you're lazy, well, then you're just kind of a dickhead, because it's just about you being lazy. But I'd at least accept that answer as you're just lazy.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But then the third reason, if it's because of what is it? It would cause too much issue with needing animations and gear fitting. You have animations for models. You have to change the models. Like, I'm not a game developer.
I can understand redoing the animation if you're changing the model and there's a big difference in the model. Because we're like, okay, this is the crouch animation and this is when they reach for something out of their jacket.
Yes.
You change the body shape, suddenly their hand is going through their chest.
Then yes, you have to
I have to kind of redo that.
You have to make some differences in animations fair.
Yeah.
I understand that, okay? But this isn't talking about creating whole new animations that aren't similar at all, whole new differences in what's going on. This is literally about you change the body type and then you adjust how animations are grabbing for stuff.
Yeah. The biggest thing would be like gear fittings.
Yes.
Because you would have to redo the gear for that. You wouldn't just be able to tweak it, because then your meshes would change.
Unless you're reasoning...
you'd be stretching and pulling your meshes, and then that would look weird. Yes. And you'd have to redo your meshes.
Unless you're saying their lore reason is because of, like, a female, they would have to edit how much inventory space they had, because maybe they couldn't carry as much, because, like, the guys are pretty built, and let's say that the women aren't that built. So, like, maybe some... But the thing, that doesn't make sense either, because, like, I don't know any military personnel that I've ever known that's been male or female that have been allowed to not carry something else.
Yeah, if you have your standard that you have to carry. You don't get to carry less just because you might be that little bit weaker. It's like, no...
So, that doesn't even make sense.
It's like, okay, we won't let you carry this because, you know, it's a bit too heavy for you.
Carry your backpack.
It's more so you have to go to the gym now until you can carry it.
So, I don't... I get that, like, in infantry forces, there is a lot less of females that are in infantry sources for most places.
But it's not zero.
But it's not zero. So, is that your lore reason? Is because there'd be too many... But this is also the thing. Then why aren't there female scavengers? Because if you're in a lawless world like that, there'd definitely at least be female scavengers.
Yeah.
Or there would at least be have every 1 in 10 people that you create be a female.
There you go, 10% split. That's a realistic number.
Yeah, like, there has to be more. And so that's why, to me, all 3 reasons are just kind of...
They're I don't fully agree with them, but I'm not...
They're not outright shitty people.
Yeah, I'm not saying burn them out of fire for being misogynistic, sexist pigs. I'm going to say criticize them for being a bit lazy.
Yes, a bit lazy, a bit dumb, and then also a bit not sexist, but like
almost like unintentional,
uncaring.
Like, I was going to say like passively sexist. Right?
Yes,
it's just kind of you just don't even notice it.
You're which is the thing. It's like it'd be like
automatic.
I may not go around calling, you know, I might not go around saying that Irish people, like, to everyone's face, like, saying Irish people are lazy slobs and drunks and stuff like that.
How dare you?
But, like, if I
we're just lazy drunks, not slobs.
If I don't hire them and I'm just like, you know, just in case or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm doing something that might not be going around hating on them,
you're doing something racist, but without the actual.
What is
racist
it? Propagating
intention.
Is the word? Like, continuing on with something, like, negatively, like, well, I don't mind black people, but I don't want them in, but, like, they don't want them in their bar, so maybe they should just stay away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's, like, you're not being the one who's setting up those standards, but you're allowing them to continue.
Yeah.
By ignoring it. Or, like, if a woman's getting beat on the side of the road, you could walk by and be like, well, it's not my business, and I think that's terrible, but it's not my business. Well, you're allowing it to happen, though.
Yeah, you're being passive to it.
So what they're doing is they're allowing themselves to, like, do something, maybe not their intention, but it makes them look like dickbags.
Yeah.
Because of it.
And as well as that, you have to take into consideration, I'm pretty sure they're a Russian studio. I'm 90% sure.
Yeah.
take in consideration that they are a Russian studio. They are a bunch of Russian guys who make video games for a living.
Exactly.
They're not going to be the most, like, equality-driven, you know, forward-thinking...
Yeah, a bunch of white Russians making a video game probably isn't going to have, like...
The first thought in their mind isn't going to be,
I need to make a woman or an Asian character.
That's not going to be the first thing that pops into your head. They're going to be like, okay. But they look around the room and go, well, this is what the characters will look like.
which is fine, but when it's brought up, it means that people that... Because there are women that play this game. I've seen them talking about it. And what it means is if they're bringing it up now and you do have that player base playing it, then maybe you should start listening.
Yeah. I think after this, I wouldn't be surprised in another, like, couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, you see them come out and be like, okay, you know what? There you go. We're going to do it. Just because you wanted it.
Yeah.
I could very much see that happening. Because I don't think they're doing this out of malicious mindset.
No, I think it's just out of... not understanding.
Like a passive mentality and almost ignorance to it.
Yeah.
That they don't realise what they're saying and doing.
Yep. So, yeah, I guess that's our opinions. It's kind of like, it's like a middle ground where, like, we do think that they're being dickhats, but not...
but...
Not in the exact way of how I guess that article was trying to portray it, or how some people are, but they do have an issue that they could easily fix.
Yeah. Dick move, don't need to be cancelled.
Yeah, but...
Unless they go, no, because we just don't want to. And then you go, okay, now you're just being an asshole.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be canceled, but I don't think anything needs to be canceled based on that thing. But I think that they can't be the ones that complain when people have a lack of interest in stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If this person, you know, had sex with someone against their will, and everyone's like, oh, cancel them, I don't think that, like... the thought process should be, yeah, they got to be canceled and, like, forget about them or whatever like that. I think the thought process should be, well, you're going to lose people to support you, and you should just expect that. Yeah. Because you were found out to do that to somebody, and that's what's going to happen because people are going to like you less. I don't think that it should be, like, you know, continued on saying, like, well, we need to make sure that they're gone. No, that's just what's going to happen regardless.
It's going to happen anyways. Without people even trying to do it, it just happens.
And I think that a lot of people will chalk certain things up and be like, this is cancel culture. But a lot of time, I think what it is, like, it's not necessarily cancel culture. What it is
people looking at someone and going, oh, they did a bad thing. I'm not going to support them anymore.
I'm not going to support them. And then because people say out loud on their public platforms that they're not going to support them, it makes other people do because they see that someone's talking about that. They're like, oh, shit, I didn't know that guy did that. I'm not going to support him now either. That's not cancel culture. That's
just reacting normally to
what
someone
you
doing
would
a
expect.
bad thing.
Yes. Like, so, I mean, that's why I say, like, I don't agree with just immediately shitting on someone for them doing one bad thing. I don't.
Yeah.
But if someone does that one bad thing and you have people that don't like them now, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't expect that not to happen. If a post came up that 10 years ago I said the N-word or something like that,
I have that post filed away somewhere.
I'd have to suffer those consequences. And yes, it was 10 years ago and it's something small, and I wouldn't say cancel me, but if some people didn't like me because they knew that I used to say that, that's my fault.
Yeah.
Now I have to suffer with that because I did do that at one point while I was young and stupid, potentially. Yeah. So that's why I get cancel culture. But I don't think it's right to call it cancel culture because you're not getting canceled because of your...
I think cancel culture is when people are going out of their way to, like, contact studios and websites
and come up with reasons of why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Like trying to get people's, like, pages removed from online and try getting them fired from their job.
Coming up with, like when we had that issue that we talked about with Pro Jared.
Yeah.
Creating up stories to get them canceled because they did one thing that wasn't popular and a lot of people didn't like them. So you made more stuff.
That's cancel culture.
Which
is toxic.
But coming up with something that's like, this person raped this person, and then people going, I don't like this person, you probably shouldn't like them either because of that.
That's just been a person with common sense and, like, you know.
Yes.
Using your head and going, oh, bad person, bad thing, me no likey.
I think everyone thinks that, like, everyone has this thing where they're just trying to go out all of a sudden because they don't like that stuff. It's like, well, gotta cancel. This person won't serve gay people their cakes, so now we need to, you know, do everything to get them shut down and stuff like that. And yeah, there's people that are like that, but, like, overall, their thought process is like, I'm not gonna shop with you anymore because you won't do that. And then because enough people say, yeah, I agree because that's the situation,
has the same effect.
Then it has the same effect. It's not because people... It's because your shitty actions cause it to happen. And I think that's just what it is. Now, talking about shitty actions leading to something positive, this has no relation to that.
Nintendo
Switch has been announced according to Digitimes, which I'm pretty sure they do a lot of, like, digital... This is the
Sounds
issue.
like a Digimon.
That's what it is. So Digitimes, the Digimon, some sources told them that Nintendo is preparing to mass produce a new Switch model as soon as Quadrant 1 of 2020, which is now. Part of now.
Oh, yeah.
So this is like, next gen Switch rumors, which happens every year and every month and every time something like this comes up.
Off the bat, I think I already know what it is.
Slight revisions, or is it the rumored Switch Pro with 4K support? I mean...
No, they're gonna fix the drifting in the Joy-Cons, and they're releasing a new big title game that they're gonna put in Switch bundles, and that's why they're mass producing them.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Legitimately, I think what it is for most of us who understand why they would be mass producing Switch again...
They're prepping for E3.
Yeah,
they're going to have an announcement at E3, and they're going to want to have a big reserve because it's going to be
maybe
a big game.
I would say that they definitely are probably, if they're going to be mass producing new Switches, then it means that it's because their backlog of Switches that they have now, because they could take those that are already produced and they could add them into bundles. So, like, I agree kind of with what you're saying, but I don't 100% because I could see them switching that up if they already had them produced with the previous. I legitimately think either the Joy-Con issue or some other very small hardware thing is going to be changed.
Yeah, something
and
tiny.
But important.
Yeah.
Tiny but important. Because right now, to hack a Nintendo Switch, it's one small flaw that they have that was patched in later revisions, but they were still producing them when that was patched.
Do you think it has something to do with the, what is it called, the Switch-a-do?
The Switch-do?
The ring?
The Switch Fit ring?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with this.
Do you think it has nothing to do with that?
I mean...
I want to see more games for that. I want a sequel to the...
Why would they create a new Switch for that, though?
I want an origin story.
Why would they...
Because they need to get a better hardware to render his muscles.
I hate you. But I think that me and you both agree that it's more than likely
it's not that big.
Not a next-gen Switch.
If it was a next-gen Switch, we would see nothing about it until it's announced.
I mean,
until the leaks come.
According to this website, they have speculation, though, that it could be a new 4K Switch, which would use NVIDIA's 12nm Tegra Xavier SoC, which is a different chip that NVIDIA uses that's similar to the chip that's inside of the Switch now, but has a lot more power. So... I don't think that that's necessarily is wrong, but I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
I just think that they're not worried about...
Could that be it? Yes. Is it likely that'll be it? No.
No. And if it is, well, we'll admit that we're wrong and stupid.
I won't.
No, you won't.
I will stand by my saying of, I did say it could happen. Totally could happen. Unlikely, but it could.
It could.
That way I'm covering myself. If it does happen, I still sound like I was right.
But if we're being, if we're being honest with ourselves, we know what it probably is.
Yeah, Joy-Con fix, maybe small hardware stuff, maybe storage, maybe a little bit better of a processor in it.
Regardless, we'll be seeing more Switches in 2020.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Moving on to a topic that I don't think either me or Kyle, I almost didn't call you Kyle. I don't know what I was going to call you.
Me.
I don't know. But I almost didn't call you Kyle. That was weird. I forgot your name for half a second.
It happens.
Yep, I know it does. So, Destiny 2, pretty decently popular game after it had more stuff happen to it and things like that. Like it's stayed steadily decently popular.
Went free to play. Player base jumped up on it again.
Yeah, and it's been doing pretty decent ever since.
Yeah, it's been doing pretty good.
According to this Forbes article, Destiny 2 is Google Stadia population has dropped by more than half since launch. So it looks like 50 of those 100 players stopped playing. I've been waiting to say that joke.
I was going to say, so it dropped from 2 people to 1.
I've been waiting to say that joke since I found this article.
I hate you so much.
Oh, boy. And that's why I didn't say it when we were first talking about it. Because I wanted to bring it in here and hit you with it.
Oh.
So...
You see what I have to deal with? This is what I have to deal with.
So, according to this article, we've found out that Destiny 2's, according to Charlemagne.io, which does a big tracking of Destiny 2 statistics and stuff like that.
It's also my favorite dyslexic Pokemon.
What?
It's like if you're trying to spell Charmander, but you were dyslexic.
No, it doesn't even look like Charmander. Charlemagne?
Do you know how dyslexia works?
Yeah, it mixes up letters.
Yeah.
It doesn't create new ones and then take Charlemagne Charmander.
Yeah. I see a C and I see an M. Argue
what
that.
about the G?
And that's me. I'm the G.
So according to Charlemagne.io, we saw that when the Stadia, a week after the Stadia's launch, it was at about 20,000 Stadia players for that version, which is
not too bad.
It's not good,
but it's not bad. At least it's someone.
It's not good and it's not mediocre. It means that out of however many Stadias they sold,
like 1/8 of them are playing Destiny 2. No, half of them are playing Destiny 2.
Yeah, probably half of them.
3/4.
How many?
40,000?
So there's no information saying how much.
Because half the people who have bought it still haven't gotten it yet.
We don't know how many Stadias were sold. I don't know. If you were to have to take a guess, what would you say? How many Stadias were sold? Give me a high value and a low value.
Low value, 100,000.
Low value,
low value 100,000. High value 120,000.
So my low value of how many Stadias were sold, 50,000.
You think 50,000?
It's 50,000 Stadias sold.
No, I honestly think it could have been 40.
Yeah, I know.
My joke at the start might be right.
Yeah. High value, 100,000.
Yeah.
I would say. So you're looking at potentially half of Stadia owners, at least, would be playing Destiny 2, which I would think that's a good gesture. Saying half of the people that own a Stadia would play one of the main games on it,
even if it is only 20,000 people.
Yeah, so 20,000, fine. Well, as of looking at the population on January 2nd, it was 8,000 Stadia players.
Oh.
Now, you could say whatever you want about maybe it's the game or whatever.
It's not the game. Destiny's great.
But when you watch the PC version go from 494,000, which is, almost 500,000, to it only dropped to 454,000. So it dropped, 40,000? About 40,000 players, which sounds like a lot, but that's 40,000 players of a nearly 500,000 player base.
Yeah.
So that's not that much. That's like, what percentage are we looking at there? Like 10? Not even?
Yeah.
So...
PlayStation only dropped like 20,000.
Yeah, I mean Xbox
dropped 20,000 as well. It looks like.
Yeah, so it literally
everyone's dropped like the same amount.
But then you look at the Stadia and they lost half their player base, or sorry, almost 60%, 58.7% to be exact.
Yeah.
And if you want to give a good example of how many Stadias have sold, you would assume that most people, at least 25% of your player base would probably be playing one of the more popular games that are on the Stadia.
Yeah.
In terms of multiplayer. So 20,000.
You may as well say that if you look at the player base of Destiny as a good sample of the Stadia player base as a whole, you're probably looking at a good 40% drop off minimum of Stadia players, full stop.
I mean, and you could also look at this and say, well, maybe just a lot of people didn't play Destiny 2 because they didn't want the Stadia for that. And fair enough, I'd almost agree with you because I mostly do agree with you because if I was gonna play a Stadia, I'd probably play it for the single player experience.
Yeah.
Because of various issues that I know that would come with streaming while playing a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
But this also could show that those people that were playing Destiny 2 didn't want to put up with it anymore.
Yeah.
So they stopped playing
They
it.
had 20,000 people playing it, and nearly 60% of them went, yeah, no, I'm good.
So what would you say overall? Do you think that, the Stadia is probably doing good then?
Oh, totally.
And just Destiny 2 is bad?
Yeah, I think the Stadia is doing great. I think it's console of the new decade, and it'll bring us into a bright, prosperous future of gaming.
Great.
That was hard to say.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
That kind of hurt my soul to say.
I hope that we never have to cover the Stadia except for its death again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they've pulled support.
Like, I honestly, the information on it is so lackluster because it's been mediocre.
Honestly, we're going to hear nothing about it until it closes.
Probably.
It's going to be great.
So, I actually saw this while we were looking at one of the articles, and I got super interested in it. And I don't know why I didn't notice this, but a month ago is when apparently this was announced, is The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 release on the same day, May 21st, 2021.
Keanu Reeves, double feature. Hell yeah. I'm so pumped. I watched John Wick 3 again last night. So apparently Lionsgate announced it would be releasing on that day after the fact. So now I guess we just see if... Who's releasing The Matrix? I actually don't know.
Let me see here.
Warner.
Oh, Warner, obviously.
Yeah.
So Warner's doing Matrix. So literally, this is literally the most not that good of news ever. I just thought it was really interesting because I didn't know that The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4, when their release dates would be. Like, I didn't even know they were announced.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were making a Matrix 4.
Wait, really?
I don't know why. I just didn't.
You didn't know?
No. I feel like I had a snippet of information, but I didn't actually know.
Yeah.
But they're going to be releasing the same day. Which one do you think will do better? That's what I want to talk about.
Ooh. Which will do better?
Yeah.
Short term or long term?
Both.
Both? Opening weekend, Matrix will do better. Long term, I think John Wick will pull it.
I think I would agree. I think the only thing that The Matrix has going for it is the fact that
it's The Matrix.
Is that The Matrix original has its name to it.
Yeah, and that Keanu Reeves is going to be in it. That's it.
But I could be wrong.
Could be very, very wrong.
Could be wrong. I just don't know what else you could add into the story, though.
All I know is that if they are staying on, like, both coming out that one day, I'm going to book both my tickets for the same day. And I'm going to go to the showing of one of them first and go to the showing of the other that starts right after it.
That sounds like a good idea.
So I'll only have, like, 5-10 minutes of a break, probably. Before I overdose of Keanu Reeves.
I don't think you could ever overdose of Keanu Reeves.
You can never have too much of Keanu.
You can only underdose. And right now I have a major underdose of Keanu Reeves, so I can't wait for Cyberpunk 2077.
Whoa!
Alright.
Gotta fit that in every podcast.
I'm getting tired, so let's wrap this up, Kyle.
Cody doesn't have the energy for this. An old man.
I'm getting old, Kyle. I'm getting old and withered. So the new Batman... We both have our opinions on it.
We do. We got some more casting news.
Yeah, we did get some more casting news, and to me, it's quite surprising. To you, I don't know how... You don't find it as surprising, but I do.
I don't find it as surprising because I kind of had a feeling it was coming. So, obviously, Jonah Hill was in talks a while ago to reportedly play the Riddler. Rumour was at the time that they were trying to get him for Penguin, and that he didn't want to be Penguin, that he wanted to be Riddler. So...
Why didn't you want to be Penguin?
Probably because he felt like he's been typecast as the short fat guy. I'm not wrong. Like,
yeah,
argue that. So he left, and obviously Paul Dano was cast as the Riddler, but that left the Penguin up in the air. But then a while after,
the Penguin up in the air, they can't fly.
I hate you. So a while after, Colin Farrell was reportedly in talks for being in the Batman, and it's come out now that he will be taking the role of the Penguin, that beautiful, beautiful Irishman.
I don't understand. And we're doing the rest of the podcast with pictures of Jonah Hill memes up. This one's my favorite. I'm sorry, guys. I'm ruining the podcast.
So you should save that meme. We have to post it there so they know what we're looking at.
So I don't understand him as this character because to me the penguin is like a short, fat, ugly, weirdo character, right?
Yeah.
So the penguin is this like short, fat, ugly character, and if not that, he's definitely like a weird guy, right?
Yeah. But Colin Farrell is he's a handsome man.
He's a pretty handsome man, and he definitely I don't see him being like
he's a good actor as well.
I don't see him being that. I guess I don't know. I guess anybody could be made to look weird, but like there's shots of him on the set.
Yeah, with his very, very distant shots, clearly someone from their window.
Clearly someone who wasn't supposed to be around.
Yeah. So it appears he has white hair, or at least very greyish hair, and an umbrella. So it's very odd. Oh. So it's very odd design already. We haven't got a good look at him to see if he has like prosthetics or anything. But if they don't, I think they might be going for a penguin that's similar to the one we've seen in the Batman Telltale games.
Ah, what'd he look like?
Give him a search there. That's just Danny DeVito. Telltale.
Continue.
So, he just looks like a normal guy. The face hair.
That's exactly what he's based off.
Yeah,
of.
his penguin, his whole penguin thing is like he wears this really creepy penguin mask.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what it is. And that penguin mask isn't even that creepy. He looks fucking stupid. I don't like him.
It's creepy when he looks down at you. That upward angle doesn't help. It's supposed to kind of resemble like a plague doctor mask.
Yeah, thank you. I never would have guessed.
You're welcome, Cody.
It just looks like a penguin mask. Fine, fair, okay. This whole thing is based on this version of
you can kind of
this tell. Batman is based off of the Telltale Batman,
where he's that bit more of a grounded Batman.
No, you can tell even with all the other characters almost like
a Catwoman.
Like if you look at him without his Batman hat. If you look at him without his mask on, he like I don't want to say he looks exactly like
but he's close.
Yeah.
Like Joker in it, he looks, fairly normal. Catwoman kind of looks like Zoe Kravitz.
Like it's literally I think this is what the character choices were mostly based off of.
Which I'm okay with. If they're going for that kind of grounded, more true to life Batman, then I could get that. Not looking at the screen.
Uh-huh.
In which case I think, having Colin Farrell as the Penguin could be a good choice. I think he could play that mobster kind of role fairly well.
It's just not going to be.
It's not going to be
what you'd expect. Yeah,
or Jonah Hill.
in any sort of facet. It's going to be like probably a cool, suave sort of like.
Yeah, like he is in the Telltale games. To be honest.
Yeah.
He's like cool and he's charming and people like him.
So I mean, like that's fine. I guess I don't see any issues with that. I don't see any issues, but it's whatever. I guess. I'm just so used to the Danny DeVito version,
They should have just got Danny DeVito. I
really
would love to see Robert Pattinson beating the crap out of Danny DeVito.
Overall, I don't think it's. We have to wait and see. When is there supposed to be a trailer out for this or something?
They said we're supposed to get. Rumor is we're getting promotional stuff this week or next week. That we're starting to get promotions. We're supposed to get a trailer before. I think it's the start of summer or before the end of spring.
And is it supposed to be like a full trailer or is it like a teaser trailer?
I think it's a full trailer.
Oh, okay.
I think he said there's an expo or some convention that's coming up, and someone asked, would we have a trailer by then? And the director was like, yes, you definitely will.
Oh. Okay.
So we won't have to wait much longer to see...
Jonah Hill. Oh, sorry, not Jonah Hill.
Sorry,
that's what I was looking at.
We have seen too much Jonah Hill.
Yeah, that's all I ever want to see now.
We won't have to look on to see Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Robert Pattinson as the Batman, Paul Dano as Riddler, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and there's another guy who hasn't been cast yet who people think is Two-Face.
Okay, well, cool. It's going to be another Batman movie. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the 8th Batman reboot in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, 20 years, I guess.
It's going to be so much fun.
I mean, it'll be enjoyable when you watch it. That's. I don't think.
It's not going to be mind-blowing, but it's going to be a fun movie.
It could be mind-blowing. I don't want to write it off. It could be mind-blowing. I don't want to write it off. Out
and be like, holy crap, that's really good.
But instead, it's probably going to be mediocre. Much like this podcast.
Oh.
But only the parts where Kyle's talking.
Yay! Wait, no.
When I'm talking, it's exciting.
Oh.
Do you not agree?
No.
Oh.
Not at all.
Okay, what's your opinion?
Because you couldn't talk today.
No,
Google Docs.
Google Docs. What else did I say?
Oh, you said a few other things.
Did I say thank you so much for listening to this 28th episode of the Geek Cause podcast?
You did say that.
Did I say we appreciate you guys so much? Thanks for listening and supporting us like you always do?
Yeah.
And then did I say we'll catch you guys in the next episode? We love you.
We appreciate you.
And
you're the best.
You're the best.
Huh.
And,
are you saying that to them or me?
I'm saying it right to your face.
Huh.
Goodbye.
Bye.